Truly, what a powerful and a beautiful insight and story about what happened to Jesus. The description of the events at the death and the raising of Lazarus. You know, when I hear the story, I cannot help but think of funerals. And there's one priest in particularly who always struck me, his homily, and I'll just share it with you. It's a homily given by Father Jose de Gomez. I don't know if you know him or if you remember him. He has passed away several years ago, but a very good priest, a humble priest, and really kind of a priest with a really good sense of humor. And I remember this was at St. Francis in Jornia. And I forgot the name of the person who had died. I think I'll just say his name was Juan, but I don't know who it was. I forgot who it was. And Father Jose, who was the pastor there, got up to give the homily, and he began this way. He said, "Jose is dead, dead, dead." That's how he began. And Father Jose is a humorous guy, and just like some of you did right now, the whole church was, just chuckling and laughing at how Father Jose did that. And I imagine he's the only one who could do that. But he knew the family well, very clearly, and they also could sense Father's humor and kind of making a point that just to facing the reality of death, but he did it in a way that put a smile on their face, just to have that confidence in the resurrection, and that death, in other words, doesn't destroy us, that we in a sense can laugh even in the face of death. And this gospel today kind of just brings me back to that, of how, like, where death, where is your sting, you know and so this is the reality where what Christ is trying to instill in us in this beautiful, miraculous story that we hear here today, the raising of Lazarus. Lazarus come out, and Lazarus dramatically comes out. I want to share with you, though, I guess maybe even a more real sense of, death, the experience of death, the experience of hardship, and what this story, what this miracle kind of says to us in our life. And, it's very odd, isn't it, where Jesus hears the word that his friend Lazarus has died. And then as soon as he hears the word, it says that he remained there 2 more days in the place where he was. It's like it's not what we are expecting. It says, "Jesus, your friend Lazarus has died." And then Jesus says, "Okay, I'm just going to wait here for 2 more days, and then I'm going to go to him." That's basically what Jesus did. It's very odd. And sometimes I think we experience that in our own life, where we feel like God is delayed, that God is not answering. So especially when we're going through a suffering, when maybe a loved one is in the hospital, or someone is dying, someone we care about, something very serious, and we desire and we want God's action now, and we hear Martha and Mary, "Lord, if you had been here, our brother would not have died." Just that certain attitude that they have, huh? Bringing to God. Why, God? Why did you let this happen to my loved one? Why did you delay, Lord? Why weren't you here when I needed you? Almost accusing God. But that's the reality. I think, sometimes we want God to act on our timetable. We want to have everything just the way we think is the best. Jesus clearly had a plan here, as he was saying how, his death this illness will not end in death. And God had a beautiful plan that was so far beyond what Mary, Martha were thinking about. And I just wanted to emphasize that somehow we are in that situation where we We don't understand God's ways, and we ask God, why? Why this suffering? Why this hardship? Why this difficulty in my life? What did I do to you, God? Why am I in this situation? Why are you taking my loved one? What did my loved one do to you, God, that you would take them? We kind of grumble before God. I don't think I'm the only one that sometimes feels that way. At the same time, when Jesus does come in the story, he comes to the tomb and he sees everyone crying. Jesus knows what's going to happen. He already has a plan. He tells them, he says, this is not going to end in death. And yet when he comes to the tomb and he sees everyone weeping, and he himself, the scripture says he weeps. He cries also. It's sort of like just the opposite. On one side, in this one story, we sense that God is late. But on another side, we see that God is so intimately involved and empathizes with our situation. That he is with us. He is crying with the mourners. He is crying with us. He weeps. And just to know that we have a God like this, a God who is not distant, but a God who is close, and a God who weeps with us. For me, it's comforting to know that, to know that God is close. I don't understand your ways, Lord. I don't understand why I go through this or my loved ones go through this, but I appreciate that you are here and you ask me to trust in this moment. You know, I honestly, just thinking about the passing of my sister and my mother a little bit more than a year ago in 2024. And I always thought that, I just kind of dealt with it, or it was okay, or, I just kind of moved on in a sense, because I had the mass, I had this, I had that, uh, greeting people and the time of the wake, and you're doing all this kind of functional sort of things, is our custom here on Guam. And sometimes it just keeps us so busy that we don't have necessarily an opportunity to just cry and just mourn. So I find in reading this gospel today and several other events just in my life and more recently, just kind of brings it home fresh for me. The loss, of my own mom and sister. And I see that that's kind of like where I'm at, and maybe you are also. That's where you're at, where you see that God is there, that maybe God has, you have this attitude towards God, and God is calling you to believe. And yes, Lord, I believe, and I believe in the resurrection. I believe in him, and God is giving me comfort as well. And I know, Lord, that you're with me, but it doesn't stop the tears because the resurrection hasn't come yet either. It's sort of like this in-between time. I find myself, and I just invite you, maybe we all find ourselves in this story, sort of in the middle of the story. That God is saying to us, like he asked the question to Martha, Martha, I am the resurrection and the life. Do you believe? And I say, and you say, yes, Lord, I believe. And that's where we're at. And we're still waiting for that day, that glorious day of resurrection when all the wrongs will be right and we will be united with our loved ones together, that future day. But today, we're in the middle, and we wait and we hope for that glorious day. So I just offer that to you. That this miracle story of Lazarus, I think it expresses a reality of our own experience in life and how true it is, how sometimes we don't understand God's ways, but in faith we know that our God is close to us, but we still weep. It's still painful, but we know that God weeps with us and shares our pain, and it brings us comfort. And we cry out to God, Lord, I believe, and we wait, and we hope, and we long for that day of resurrection where all of God's promises will be fulfilled. This is the Christian's life, having within us a hope that gets us through these hard times, to know that we are not alone in this world. We walk hand in hand with God, and He suffers with us. He cries with us. He loves us. God bless you.